Well, I want to welcome you back to the Take 10 Listings Guaranteed coaching program from Annie Mac Home Mortgage's Works Relationship. And we're going to review some of the journey today that we've been on for the past 6 weeks, but we're mostly going to focus on what's next. Um, in order to get to the beginning of a journey, you've gone through this instructional exercise or this coaching conversation. But this is not the end. Week 6 is not the end of our relationship. It's truly the beginning of something that can manifest over the next 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, like it has for me and so many people that I've met on this journey. Remember when we talked about the why and the fact that when people are going to work just to pay their bills, they're not motivated enough? But when they have a compelling vision for their future, they're willing to do the hard work. Hopefully, you've analyzed your place in this life and you've decided that apathy, laziness, and complacency are no longer acceptable to you. That you studied the clever conversations, you've learned a skill called appearing interested, and you've started to understand that asking thoughtful questions is more important than anything that you can ever say to a client. I hope that you understand the 6 figure secrets that you were instructed to review. I hope that you understand the power of proper written goals that you were uh, instructed or assigned to watch. If anything, it would be an undeniable truth that there are 6 channels of solicitation for every seller, and that you personally need to master all 6. It's no longer effective as we enter 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23 to use just email or just social media or just direct mail or just calling. You personally must solicit your sellers through all channels. During our 6 week journey, we shared with you some effective concepts for opening lines, but we never inferred that our scripts or dialogue were infallible. In fact, every salesperson knows that 1 out of 10 is a fantastic success rate, meaning 9 people have to say no for every one yes. And until you get that through your thick skull, you're always going to be frustrated. Once you understand that there's no infallible script, there's no infallible secret pill, there's no secret sauce that everyone knows except for you start to understand that I just have to talk to more people. And as polite and as passionate, impassioned, and strong conviction and some sincerity to my empathy of their needs and some true care in my heart, that I can be successful with 1 out of every 10 customers that I talk to. And that is a heroic financial success for a residential real estate agent. To talk to 9 people that say no and 1 person that says yes every week, that's a listing a week. That's 52 listings a year. Are you crazy? Do you understand that each listing pays you $9,000, and then on top of that 9,000 there's a couple extra buyers that pay you 8 or 9,000 each? A listing is the secret. And talking to 9 no's to get to 1 yes is exactly what we talk about. We started to understand source of business charting together and really comprehending that 3 houses from each source is better than 12 houses from one source. That having 2, 3, or 4 sales a year from your farm, having 4 sales a year from your friends and family, having 4 sales a year from your seasoned expired work, that these sources of business that we spent so much time on is really the only way could imagine that a real estate agent can achieve balance in their life. You know, when you put all your eggs in one basket, you're harming yourself and your family. But when you spend 1 hour a week on your sphere of influence, or you spend 1 hour a week on your geographic farm area, or in this example, 2 hours a week on your geographic farm area. Now, some people are so detail oriented, so black and white, they're frustrated right now. They're saying something like this. But in this slide, you said $9,000 a deal. But in this slide, you say $4,000 a deal. Well, that's because I don't know where you're at. Okay? If you're in San Francisco, you're making $40,000 per house. If you're in New York City, you're making $30,000 per house. If you're in Keokuk, Iowa, you're making $4,000 per house. And if you're in Fort Lauderdale, you're probably making $9,000 per house. But I don't know where you're at. Your job is to know where you're at. 1 hour each week marketing, 2 hours each week farming, working buyers and marketing towards buyers for a couple of hours each week. We talked about stacking your 3 hours of effort each week so that you could do more work during that 3 hours. And what about just good old fashioned belly button to belly button, eyeball to eyeball, pressing the flesh, shaking hands, kissing babies, like every politician, every salesperson, every business owner has to do? What if you stopped blaming your broker? What if you stopped blaming your market? What if you stopped blaming your spouse? What if you stopped blaming your parents? What if you just realized that the guy in the mirror is the problem? Then until you set aside 4 hours every week as a minimum, and if you're ambitious, it's more like 10 hours a week, but 4 hours a week, come on, to press the flesh and make warm human contact using the 6 channels of communication to sellers? What about driving over and saying hi to a seasoned expired listing or an absentee owner? What about sending a note or a text to a consumer that inquired 2 years ago but has not yet listed or sold a house? What about following up on some of your past customers? During our time together, we drew a real realtor roadmap towards 10 hours of work. And there's no one who's been through this 6 weeks that can deny that if you went to the gym for 10 hours a week, you would have less body fat. If you went to the residential real estate workplace and had 10 hours of concerted effort each week towards building your business, you would be more successful next year. Now, the problem seems to be the time that it takes between the effort and the reward. That's a shame, but it's a reality. There's no way you're going to get around it. During the last 6 weeks, we offered you the presentation skills of an elite listing agent pricing matrix and an elite listing agent commission matrix. Do you remember the pyramid where we helped the seller feel a sense of personal responsibility in the decision making rather than, avoiding the advice of his realtor and then blaming his realtor for the results? This is a shift in personal responsibility. You're passing the baton of responsibility to the decision maker. I'm happy to list your home for $240, but let me tell you what I think is going to happen. I recommend we list at $229, but I understand you want to try to get more money out of the house. But you're not going to shoot the messenger. You're not going to convince your realtor that I have somehow forgotten how to sell houses. I have not forgotten how to sell houses. As a matter of fact, I'm the best residential real estate professional in the market here in your local market. But you made a choice to list your home higher than what we recommended. So we also have some wholesale pricing built into there, but we really stress the projections of the result. Now, if somebody lists a house for $240 and it should have been at $229 and it sells anyway, then high five and run off to the races because you've done a great job. But we did teach you the belief in firm pricing. We did teach you how to have the pricing debate with your sellers. Sales is not a science, it's an art. So not every one of you will use the same commission arguments. You have to check with your broker to see if these commission arguments are reasonable for your market. None of these were bundled to make you use them. They were bundled to show you what your competitors are using and what the elite real estate agents are doing to dramatically change the win-win relationship of commission structures in American real estate. On the other hand, you may be a firm disciple of 6% only, and that might be the way that you and your brokerage decide to go. We do believe, and we reiterated throughout this relationship, that the seller's estimated net proceeds is actually how to close for a listing. The closing procedure used to be sign here, press hard, there's 3 copies. That was the closing technique that Mike Ferry built hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate training income on. What we like to believe is that the consumer could suffer from seller's remorse when they are bulldozed. And I have always preferred to serve instead of close. So when Alec Baldwin stood up in Glengarry Glen Ross and said A, B, C, always be closing, I had a 35-year experience of always be serving. ABS, always be serving, always be loving, always be caring, always be nurturing, always be empathetic, always be aware of the things that are of concerns to them. And then use a mathematical assumptive close. So if we saw $63,000 to $68,000 in your pocket, and we were able to buy your next home, which is a 5.4 for $349.9, and your payment was going to be about $1,300 a month, could you in fact put 43 of the 65 down on your next house and have a $1,300 payment? Is that appealing to you? Then let's move forward. If there's a challenge inherent in the mathematics, maybe you have to do an FHA loan with less money down. Maybe you have to pay $1,450 for your mortgage on your next house instead of $1,340. Or maybe you want to put more of the $65,000 in equity down on the house to get your payment down to $1,200. But these are the always be serving mathematical characteristics of a real estate transaction decision. We talked to you about adding value and standing out. And the reason wasn't so that you could list your aunt's home or your cousin's brother's sister's friend's home. Your close personal friends, corporate referrals, and past customers are going to trust you already. But adding value and standing out is about growing your inventory with strangers in sometimes competitive situations. And you see down the left side that a farming prospect doesn't always just automatically trust you. A for sale owner may have some aversions to trusting you. An absentee owner may have some questions before they accept your pricing recommendation or your commission structure, right? We really spent a lot of time during our relationship understanding how value add can really help you stand out. By becoming the centrifugal force or the concierge of their whole transaction coordination experience, you add value. By saying the words, my lawyer, my team, my title company, I can get your home some additional exposure. We have a special event coming up. Don't worry, you can use my truck for that. Our company would love to host your housewarming party. I have a concierge director that'll talk to you about that with your mulch and your impatiens and your floor mats. I want to help you out with that. My house cleaning team will come over and take care of that for you. I have a friend in Pensacola where you think you're going to be moving to, and I'm going to introduce you to him because I think he can help you find your home in Pensacola. I want to introduce you to my mortgage partner because he is accurate, he is efficient, and he is going to get the job done for you. I feel strongly that my mortgage partner will help you. Can I introduce you to my mortgage partner? Hey, I'm coming over for an open house on Sunday. Would you stay for the beginning of it so you can meet my mortgage partner? I'd like you to meet him. He's coming to the open house with me. We spent some time on value add, features, advantages, and benefits. We talked about IDX exchange and the internet data exchange, the wild, wild west of the World Wide Web. Wow, that's wonderful. Wild, wild west of the World Wide Web. That's, I could coin that one. But you're talking about demonstrating the value of mobilizing an entire real estate community, a worldwide real estate community. We talked about features, advantages, and benefits like, has any agent offered to build you a website for your home? And for that website to be a complete digital marketing brochure on your property so that your home can be featured on Zillow, on Realtor.com, on Trulia, on all of the search agents. But instead of driving traffic to other homes, we can capture the leads. Do you know that we won a U.S. patent at the bottom of your screen? 6760707. That is the U.S. patent that was won by Smart Lead Capture. The code, QR code generation, which we use in our open house security system. The Smart Lead Capture Sign Writer, U.S. patent to help realtors capture leads from their signs. The obvious advantage of an open house security system that helps your homeowner feel safer when you expose their property and their personal effects to strangers. When you as a realtor are sitting in open house in a rural neighborhood, vacant and far from the sound of your voice cannot be heard, and a stranger walks into a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3,000 square foot vacant home, and you are alone and defenseless, isn't it fair that your open house attendee would scan this QR code, which serves as a protective device for your seller and your realtor so that they're not letting strangers in the home? Well, you may argue that that's obtrusive to the consumer. But I may argue that, yeah, the consumer coming in the home is obtrusive to my seller and to my vulnerable residential real estate agent there. This is a culture of safety, and we're evoking a sense of pride and profession. And if you don't want to scan your thing, then show me your ID before you walk in, and I'll take a picture of it and I'll text it to my office so that you have identified yourself before you walk in, so that if any harm is done, any thing is missing, that we have proof of who was in the home. Do you have the professional integrity to stand up for that? Is that a feature, advantage, and benefit that you think adds value to your seller? I don't know. I can't speak for you. I know for me that it does. Do you think that our Facebook app posting their property into social media, boosting it and targeting is valuable to the seller enough to tell them about? Do you even comprehend that Google bought YouTube, and that having a video for their home catapults it to the top of Google search engines? So when someone puts in Hawks Landing homes for sale, someone puts in Titusville real estate for sale, their video comes up about their home. And you made that video for them in the MyWork Suite technology. This is an incredible upgrade, and you should be showing it to them. Do you know that you can target homeowners? You can target people that have their house for sale in the counties that drive domestic migration to your home seller. The word domestic migration means Americans who move throughout America from state to state, from city to city, or county to county. Well, we track that for your seller, and we show them where in red the homeowners here are moving to, and then we show them where in blue they're moving from. And then we are able to boost through targeted social media and advertising to the people who are most likely to sell their home. So let's run an example by you as a seller. If a 52-year-old homeowner is in New York and he has 2 children that just graduated from high school, and he's now growing between the ages of 52 and 62, is he likely, and his house is for sale, his house is for sale. Is he likely to consider Southeast Florida from New York, New Jersey, New Haven, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Long Island? If you don't think so, then you don't know anything about real estate. So what we're doing is we're layering probabilities and we're targeting our advertising towards those eventual probabilities. And sellers love that stuff. So is that a feature that you would bring up to a seller? Joanne Gaines is the darling of home staging in 2019, 20, and 21. You know, the Property Brothers have made shows about staging for the last 10 years. There's beautiful examples of how staging residential real estate can increase the sales price of a home. But most realtors don't even use staging as a feature. You know what? Most realtors just put it in the MLS and wait. Well, if you saw every realtor that makes over $100 million in sales a year acts as an advocate, as a true advocate, a true custodian of their equity, someone who's a steward of the equity, meaning I'm paid because not only do I protect your equity, but I increase your equity. I'm one of the few agents here in this market that's a certified staging expert. And I know that I could sell your house faster and for more money because I, like Joanne Gaines, like Chip Gaines, like the Property Brothers on HGTV, and like all of the top 5% of realtors in the country, understand that staging and merchandising your home is one of the great ways that I can increase the value of the offers that come in on your home. Do you personally, as a realtor, think that that's important enough to talk to them about? If you're losing listings, it's because more experienced real estate professionals are creating gravity where you're not. More experienced real estate professionals are taking credit for helping their sellers with things outside of the real estate transaction. More experienced real estate professionals are handling the problems and not distancing themselves from the solutions. It's my attorney that'll help you. It's my mortgage professional that'll help you. It's my handyman that'll come by. It's my inspector that will come over. It's my repairman that will look at this. I will help you. They really do it different than most of your underwhelming producers. We spent some time during week 3 focusing on seasoned expireds because I believe that there are people in your market that were listed a few years ago that have not relisted. And it's easy to find them. It's easy to friend them on social media. It's easy to send them a message. It's easy to use the 6 channels of communication to follow up on them and build a relationship with. I'm going to breeze through this because this PowerPoint is available to you. These are all the scripts. These are all the objection handling techniques. These are all the scripts that we've developed with Mike Ferry and Brian Buffini and Walter Sanford. These are all the features, advantages, and benefits that you've been taught during the last 6 weeks. One of the final points that I really want to make clear to you is during the last 3 decades, the channels of communication have just widened immensely. And where telephone and mail and dropping things off were the main methodology of real estate in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, in messaging on LinkedIn and Facebook and private messaging on Facebook have become the paramount communication channels. We field about 5,000 leads a month today, and those leads are most often engaging in texts, not telephone. Yes, voice-to-voice contact is the eventuality, but sometimes the immediacy of a text helps a seller respond quicker. And certainly email is less effective than it was 5 years ago, but more effective than most methods of communication. So my point here is that anything that you're going to say in your opening statement can be said via text. Any opening line that you want to use with a seller can be used via email. Any of the opening lines or closing techniques that you would use from the telemarketing work scripts, you can use in a social media in message or a private message on Facebook. All of these scripts that used to be Mike Ferry smile and dial scripts, meaning the phone was the only way to do it. That's not the case anymore. Okay? Your opening statements to a season expired can be right on LinkedIn, right on Facebook, in a text if you have their phone number. And you need to understand how culture works, and you can't spring into a hardcore closing technique at the beginning. You have to open with an introduction and friendly, banter back and forth on their um, you know, personal relationship first and build some sense of credibility. But every single closing technique, every single objection handling technique, every single opening line can be used just as effectively on Facebook, LinkedIn, and text as it can be used on a phone call, okay? And door knocking. We spent some time with you teaching you about AdWorks and bold leads in Facebook and LinkedIn and RedX and squeeze pages and automated CRMs. We showed you the vendors that the top realtors in America are using. And we even showed you how you can search a seller's name right in social media to find them. It's easier than ever to find a person on a seller. So if you know 123 Gulf Street expired in August of 17 and they have not relisted it here 2 years, 3 years later, just find them and reach out to them. So anything that you would have telephone, mailed, or dropped off, you're now empowered to in-message, private message, text, or email. We did stress to you that the elite earners in any profession, the elite performers in any sport, the elite entrepreneurs in any business endeavor, time block. And that means they schedule time for the things that are most important to them. And now I leave you with the ugliest 4-letter word in the real estate business. You may utter a 4-letter word when your seller lists with someone else. You may utter a 4-letter word when your buyer buys a home from someone else. But the ugliest 4-letter word that you will ever utter in the residential real estate enterprise is the word work. WORK. Most residential real estate people got into residential real estate because they hated authority or they were misplaced from another version of authority and they ended up to be their own boss in residential real estate. When you are your own boss, there is no carrot and stick unless you create it. When you have an employer, the paycheck is the carrot and the chance to getting terminated is the stick. But in residential real estate, there's too many options to fail because there's no carrot and there's no stick. The ugliest 4-letter word is work because most of you don't have a boss and you're not willing to get under the authority of a schedule. You're not willing to get under the authority of your personal desires that should trump your personal apathy. This is the poison of residential real estate. The word work is it could be defined as something that you know you need to do, but you're not willing to do. So when you have to go to work, it's because you're doing the thing that you know you ought to do, and you know you got to do it, but you just don't want to do it. That's called work. Well, picking your poison down the left-hand side of your screen is a joy for me to share with you, because as you tab down that list, they're really the central sources of business that you have to choose from. So I drew a line to 4 of them that are highlighted in our 10-hour plan. We went to season expireds, for sale by owners, geographic farm, and social media boosting as our 4 primary sources of business for the Take 10 Listings plan. But in all actuality, if you were to stick to absentee owners for 6 months, you would have 4 to 6 listings. If you were to stick to the expired listings for 4 to 6 months, you'd have 4, 5, 6 listings. If you were to stick to a demographic farm area rather than a geographic farm area, let's explain what that is. I farmed police officers for 2 decades, and I averaged between 15 and 30 sales a year to cops. We now call that program Hero Home Source, which is a nonprofit organization that helps realtors solicit law enforcement agents. If you were to create a demographic farm, you could farm just people that are equestrian lovers or tennis lovers. And you could really create a niche around a particular profession like firefighters or teachers or veterans. But all of these take that 4 to 6 month commitment before a result would manifest. You could start the ultimate rent to own program in residential real estate with suburban renters and collect all the data of all the renters in a particular community and just farm them. If you did that for 4 to 6 months, you would certainly manifest transactions. You could be more proactive with your sphere of influence, and you could get into true pay-per-click advertising. But the point of this slide and this last dissertation, as annoying as it is, a millipede confused wouldn't know which foot to put first. When you have 1,000 opportunities, you choke to death on them. When you commit to one opportunity, like Truett Cathy committed to one chicken sandwich, and he built an empire called Chick-fil-A. When Kroc committed to one hamburger shake french fry coordination, and he didn't want to get into this massive group of menu items, he said, no, we just do burgers, fries, and shakes. That's all we do. And he built an empire. You have to say no to barbecue. You can't be all things to all people in residential real estate. If you're Truett Cathy, you have to say, I know that some people love, tuna fish, but we don't sell tuna fish. What I mean by that is you can't do every opportunity. You have to commit to 3 or 4. That's it. And you have to call those your work. This is what I do for a living. I prospect expired listings 3 days a week. I prospect my demographic farm constituents twice a week. I prospect my sphere of influence once a week. And I do my social media boosting once a week. If whatever the 4 sources of business that you commit to, and we did build you a plan, but I know that free will is an ugly, aspect of this enterprise, meaning you don't have a boss. I'm just a guide, and you can listen to me or not listen to me, and that's probably the problem. But at the end of this session, you will have tasted what personal responsibility could feel like. You cannot untaste chocolate. Nobody's ever untasted chocolate. Once you've tasted it, you understand what it is. And once you've tasted personal responsibility, you can't untaste it. You can't unsee that. And I beg you to stay in a place of personal responsibility. It is not your broker's fault. It is not your market's fault. It is not your mortgage banker's fault. It is not the buyers are liars and sellers are worse. It is you. You are the reason you're succeeding or failing. I want to invite you to continue to renovate your Salesforce with Annie Mac Works, the My Work Suite, and our National Lunch and Learn League. I want to impress upon you the renovation of your Salesforce through these channels. I want to tell you that there are some additional professional designations and certifications that are available to you. One that I'm very, very proud of is coming up called Farming Fridays. It is all about demographic and geographic farming, and it's going to be a fantastic 6-week relationship to Carrie Fitzpatrick, who has a master's degree in administration and about a 25 year career in residential real estate that has catapulted her to high levels of success. We want to invite you to become a pet-friendly real estate agent. We have about 1,000 real estate agents a month that become pet-friendly real estate agents with Annie Mac. We offer you a 2-part consumer credit expert certification that runs the gamut of FICO scoring and credit repair. We also want you to become a staging expert. If you have not already taken the 3-part certification from Annie Mac Home Mortgage, we want you to consider going through the Annie Mac Works Real Estate Staging Expert designation. This is a free course offered by Annie Mac, and it comes with letter templates, door hanger templates, and postcard templates. We want you to get your certificate and show your proposed sellers that you are a staging expert. And most importantly, right now, I want to ask you for the only real favor that I need if you appreciated any aspect of this course, and that's for you to pick up the phone right now and call 1-800-299-WORKS. If you would please dial 1-800-299-9679, you'll be talking to a customer service rep from Annie Mac Home Mortgages Works program, and we want to make sure that you're already paired up with a loan officer. So when you call 1-800-299-WORKS, all we want you to do is say, hey, Megan, I just took Take 10 listings. It was fantastic. Give her some testimonial. If you've got a couple of lines, if you didn't like us, tell us why. If you have some constructive criticism of how it could be better, tell her what it is. And then say, I work with Pat Staffa. I work with Bill Mervin's team. I work with Mike Bauer. I work with Rudy Benitez. Tell us who you work with in the Annie Mac Nation, and we will make a record of that and let your loan officer know that you're one of the few, the proud, that completed the Take 10 listing coaching program. And as importantly, we want you to dial 1-800-299-9679 and tell Megan what you thought of the program. Tell our customer service representatives at Annie Mac Works what you thought, if there's any constructive criticism, and say, I'm not paired up with an Annie Mac Home Mortgage loan officer. I don't have a loan officer that I turn to partner on all these staging and pet friendly and consumer credit and all the farming courses. I don't know anything about that, and I need to. 1-800-299-WORKS. 1-800-299-9679. Call up. We'll pair you up with the right mortgage professional, because it has been Annie Mac's goal since inception to become the #1 realtor referred mortgage company in every market they serve. Thank you so much for entrusting me with whatever level of leadership I could impart on your career, and I beg of you to send me an email of any success or breakthroughs that you have as a result of this. It is the joy of my life to receive breakthrough testimonials and stories of what happened as a result of applying this principle of personal responsibility. Thank you so much for being on. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick. I'm one of the lucky founders of the Annie Mac Works productivity platform. Keep that 1-800 number handy and reach out to us to get you hooked up with a great loan officer in the Annie Mac Nation.